Grant, did you know that today's my birthday?
No.
Happy birthday to me, Grant.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Grant. TJ!
What's up?
So we are the Nerds, and I'm joined on a Friday by, I guess Jared is going to stand in for Grant tonight, by my brother Jared, by our friend TJ. We are the Nerds, and we're here to rage. But again, first, happy birthday to me!
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Cack. Happy birthday to you.
Heck yeah!
And many more.
Hopefully,
On Channel 4.
well, maybe not that channel, but hopefully channels are becoming increasingly irrelevant in the day and age we're in. So there are hot takes, unpopular opinions that have been made, compiled, and I'm going to throw some out there, and you tell me whether so the way this is, it's unpopular movie opinions that you'll strongly agree or disagree with. So are you ready for this? Perfect. The first one is something that Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola have said, but Marvel movies aren't cinema. Do you agree or disagree?
I see where they're coming from because I read the thing that Scorsese said, and I kind of halfway agree with him, but halfway don't. If you don't know what he said, go give it a quick Google. But his approach was kind of like it's haphazardly thrown together without really kind of good. If I haven't read it, and this has been months, but I remember reading it. It was like haphazardly thrown together. Not a whole lot of substance there. More action kind of takes over everything, and there's no story. So I agree in that regard. At the same time, cinema, I think, is a broad category that is like, is it entertaining or not? And that's where I think Marvel absolutely delivers, and that people keep going back. Therefore, it's entertaining somehow. You don't have to have a Ridley Scott worded for 2.5 hours film for it to be cinema. So I'm kind of half and half on this one. TJ, what do you think?
I think they need to give their definition of what cinema is. And I don't know. Like, are they jealous that Marvel movies have made more money for one movie than probably at the box office than theirs have, kind of thing? Is that really kind of where this is stemming from? Or are they just not like the genre?
I really don't think that's, I mean, in personal opinion, I really don't think that's it. I think these guys are so honed in their craft that it's not it's almost disrespectful to them, if that makes sense. To where like they worked so hard to create this story and this dialogue and all this, and like now all you have to do to pull it together to be, cinema is blow a bunch of stuff up and kill a bunch of people, and they've done their fair share of those as well. I don't think it's a jealousy thing though, as so much as okay, actually no, I take that back. Maybe it is. Maybe it is a jealousy kind of like, we worked so hard to get these films so perfect, and all you guys do is come in here and use modern effects and modern technology, blow a bunch of stuff up, and it makes more money than what we had to do. It's kind of like the garage band versus like rock band kind of thing. Like, every garage band is looking at every, there's some guy right now sitting in his garage that could smoke Eddie Van Halen when he was at his best. But that guy didn't get a shot. And he's wondering like, I can do that. And I work, it's the age old kind of loop-de-loop. So I think TJ, you might have a point there, but I think jealousy is strong because even though it may be jealousy, I don't think it's rooted in jealousy so much as like, I had to work really hard for this. You guys did nothing, and it blossomed.
Well, and then it can also be something along the lines of, we created these characters from our imaginations. You got them from a comic book.
That's fair.
You know,
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So Francis Ford Coppola, in a response to Martin Scorsese, which Jared alluded to some of his comments, I think at one point also this article says that he kind of referred to them as theme parks.
Yeah.
But Francis Ford Coppola said they're despicable. And then he said, when Martin Scorsese says that Marvel pictures aren't cinema, he's right, because we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain something, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know that anyone gets anything out of seeing the same movie over and over again. Martin was kind when he said it's not cinema. He didn't say it's despicable, which I just say it is.
See, that makes a little bit more sense, kind of where they're coming from with cinema. I mean, because at one point cinema was an art form, you know.
Yeah, very
now
much.
it's an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
And that's really been the name of the game, though, hasn't it? Though, like, yes, I mean, at the end of the day, they do what they do. And now some of the greatest writers and directors in the world will be like, no, I do this to tell a story. Bullshit. You do it to sell stuff and you do it to make money. That's why we all do what we do. We're good at it, and we think we're good at it. But every writer out there, like, I firmly believe there's not a writer or director out there that says, I'm just doing that so my work will be seen. I don't care if I make any money off of it. No, I really genuinely do not believe that. Now, that doesn't mean they have to be millionaires or, you know, win Oscars and stuff, but they're doing it because they hope they get noticed, and they're doing it because they hope that it benefits them in somehow. Yes, they're probably telling a great story and have great cinematography, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you have these old school guys that had to do it the hard way, literally the hard way, like, we didn't have CGI. Like, I actually had to shoot you in the face, you know, stuff like that, you know. And then it's kind of like now, it's like, no, we don't even need the actor here that day. We're just going to CGI some stuff in, and Samuel L. Jackson can go take a nap. I get that frustration. I really do. But like TJ said, the attraction is kind of like the whole thing. The name of the game is to get people in the door and to pay money to watch it. That's always been the name of the game. No matter what your intentions are, that's how this works. You don't get to make a new movie if your first movie or the last movie doesn't do well. So yes, you may be doing it for the artwork, the artsy fartsy stuff, and you're a passion director and passion scriptwriter. What if that fails? You don't get another shot. If it succeeds, you can do it again. Now, so maybe it's not money necessarily, but like notoriety, maybe we'll call it. So to TJ's point, yes, I think that's a very good point.
It sounds a lot like
that's a Jared quote, if there ever was a Jared quote. To TJ's point, I think that's a very good point.
Fair. Yes.
It seems like they're you can put it on the 3 screen. It's not going to be any groundbreaking, you know, revelation that comes out, but it really does kind of feel like, you know, it's if I can find the words, it's not so much that it's cinema is like, it's the name of the business, obviously, for any movie company is to make money.
Yeah.
So that's where the attraction comes in. But we're talking people who probably made their movies without ever their intention of, we want this to make $1 billion worldwide. No, right. Disney wants it to make $1 billion worldwide.
That's fair.
We want to tell our story and to show this. That's what we want as a director. That's what these guys are, essentially. It's directors, right? So, you know, actually, as directors, they're trying to tell their story through this art, through this medium of cinema. As opposed to Disney is putting together this big attraction. I totally understand what they're saying from it now.
Well, what I was going to say about that's an excellent point, because a lot of the writers and directors, you know, because like writers, we don't even talk about writers, like screenplay by so-and-so. That doesn't mean they wrote it. There's a script that gets sent to someone. And someone looks at that script and says, yes, I can do this. I'll make a screenplay out of this. So the script is totally rewritten. Then it gets handed to a director or producer that says yes, no, whatever. And so, like, by the time the beginning work over here gets to the script that is the movie, it could be two totally different things. And we've read it 1,000 times where, like, the writers were like, this is not the movie that I had envisioned. This is not the way. So, but as a director too, again, like TJ said, an artist, and directors they don't play guitars or, paint paintings, but they are artists in their own form. They know how to capture angles, tell stories, and tell stories on screen. The greatest directors sometimes don't have to have words. They just have to have angles, And so I can see where that's frustrating to them when it's like, angles don't matter. Just blow that guy up, So, but yeah, I another good Jared Ketch line. Angles don't matter. Blow that man up.
That's fair. I mean, I don't know. Is it? I mean, hasn't every story been told at this point? And if you wanted to, like, listen, you can boil Marvel down to a formula, sure. But I mean, can't you in theory do that for pretty much every piece of cinema? In comic book lore and creating a movie based on that?
Exactly.
I just, there does feel to be some sense of snobbery to it. But at the same time, I do agree. Like, I mean, there are some comic book movies that you look at and say, well, was this necessary? Like, did I gain anything from it? No. And so I understand that point of, if it's a truly beautiful piece of art, then maybe, yes, I come out with some profound feeling of, oh God, my father, were we in a good relationship? And I didn't walk out of Iron Man feeling that way. Maybe Iron Man 2, but not Iron Man. But all right, next one here. I'm just gonna, and listen, this is not my opinion. I'm just gonna put it out there. You tell me what you think. Star Trek is better than Star Wars.
Well, yeah, there you go. I'm sorry. There you go. Where's he at? Let's get the hand right here.
Right here. United Federations of Planet.
So here's the quote, or the pieces of here. The two sci-fi franchises with two hugest fan bases obviously have a lot of crossover, but the consensus in general is Star Trek is low budget camp TV, while Star Wars is classic piece of cinema. Some would disagree, and here's the quote. Star Trek had relationships and conflict among the relationships and stories that involved humanity and philosophical questions. Star Wars is derivative of Star Trek. Now, granted, William Shatner said that quote, but still, if you remove it that it was said by William Shatner, if someone else had said that, it's something to think about.
Okay, so
Go on.
All right. Let me take this one real quick because TJ, you're obviously biased.
A little bit. This
has been kind of a crux for me for a long time because I have always felt that Star Trek had, and maybe because yes, they had movies, but it started out as a series before there were movies, and it just kind of morphed into this series and movies thing, and it's still continuing on. Star Wars is today, but if you don't, I was going to say Star Wars doesn't have any series. They don't really, unless you're counting the animated Lego stuff that, I guess, all right, fine, The Mandalorian and the spinoffs of that. But Star Trek was never about that. Like, the reason it was such a good series is because it was complex. Even for the 60s and moving forward, you had a bunch of stories going on. Star Wars wasn't that way. It was like, the Empire is evil. We must defeat it. We're a bunch of rebels. Therefore, we shall defeat the Empire. And there's this thing called the Force. It's a kind of like a magic. And we will use it if there's anyone left. Oh my God, there is. It's all short. It's all it's great. And I love it. But it doesn't have the depth that Star Trek does. And I'm not here to make a determination on which is better because I don't want any of you to hate me. I want to be loved for a long time. But, okay. I'm going to try to choose my words carefully on this. Star Wars, and when I say Star Wars, I'm not counting The Mandalorian, anything after Empire Strikes Back. And when I say Star Trek, I'm going to stop at everything they did up to Nemesis. Okay? So TJ has a window, and fans have a window. In those two time spans, Star Wars was more entertaining and exciting. Star Trek was more complex and made you appreciate it more. If that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Somebody's going to shoot me. I know they will.
It's bound to happen. It's the internet, so...
But before we move on, I want to hear what TJ has to say to my response.
TJ.
So obviously I am biased towards Star Trek.
What?
I like Star Wars, but like Marvel, it's an attraction.
That's fair. No, 100%. That's fair.
You know, if Star Wars had never done anything past the original 3 movies, never had any animated series, or never had the prequel series, or, you know, any of that, if none of that ever happened, and you just had the original Star Trek, the original series TV show versus the original 3 Star Wars movies, you could say that Star Wars was better. I think where Star Trek found its footing and really kind of just went into this whole philosophical approach and everything is you start looking at The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. You know, there's so many personal conflicts, you know, there's so many things happen within the course of a season that it's just, you know, things that make you think, as opposed to, well, there's the Empire, we're the rebels, let's go blow them up. Because that's essentially
Nothing
about all I
wrong
get.
with that, though, by the way.
No, yeah, you know, I mean, if you're a rebel and you're fighting the Empire, by all means,
we want to blow them up.
But, you know, when you look at so many different, you know, you have so many different races, and it's based so much on the world that it came from. You know, you're talking Klingons based on, you know, Russians from the 60s. Like, I think Romulans were based on like the Germans. I mean, there's so many like different alien species that they base on so many different things, and you know, the Federation being like the United States, and just the conflicts and just the interpersonal conflicts. You know, the ideological conflicts, and all this stuff that takes place within this series, within all the movies. Like, so much stuff layered in on top of each other that it's just, I can talk Star Trek forever and talk about like my favorite episodes and stuff like that, but really sit down and watch it. Really sit down and examine the episodes, and you'll see kind of where and how and why Star Trek, in my opinion, is better than Star Wars.
And I will absolutely give you that. Better on a scale of like, if we like we used to do movie reviews, we'd make out a grading scale. I prefer Star Wars because I like blowing up the Empire. But like, if you'd put this on a scale where we graded it out and wrote in, you know, several categories, Star Trek wins. It just does, because it's, like I said, it's more complex. There's more character development. You're more entwined with your characters. And again, to what you said, you know, Gene's representation of like the United States and Russia and Germany and all these elements coming together. Like when that first happened, that was like, we're still in the Cold War. We're still in the Cold War. And that's Gene's way of saying like, hey, I know we got differences, but we can kind of work together on this. So maybe let's try it. Okay. Here's an example.
There's an episode, I want to say in season 1 of The Next Generation, where the Federation convenes to determine, is Data Data, who's the android on board the Enterprise, he's lieutenant commander. He earned the rank going through, like, he wasn't awarded it or anything. And then he explains it through all this. He doesn't have emotions and can't feel feelings, but there's an entire episode that asks, is he property of the Federation or is he a person? And it's a debate through the entire episode. And on one side, I think you have Picard, who's saying, no, he's a person. And then you have, who's essentially Data's best friend, Riker, has to say, no, he's property, and has to argue against this whole thing. It is just, it's mind-blowing how good that one episode is. And that really kind of, if I can define Star Trek in one episode, it would probably be that one.
All right, nerds, you've heard our takes on these hot takes. So what are your takes? Do you agree with Jared? Do you agree with TJ? Do you agree with myself on these topics? Or do you have a completely differing opinion? Let us know. Put it in the comments. And while you're here, I mean, if you're listening to this part, you made it to the end. So like, comment, subscribe, smash the dingy that's hitting the notification bell. And we hope to see you next time whenever we release more nerdy content. We hope you enjoy the channel. And thank y'all so much. See you, Nerdom. Mwah.